Hello again. This hour on Verbling, the next in my great short stories series, we are on what will most likely be our last short story in the series, at least at this time. We might move the class to another time. Our 40th short story is J.G. Ballard's Manhole 69. J.G. Ballard, one of the great psychological and science fiction writers of the 20th century in English. Very interesting short story and a very interesting writer. So we're going to continue on and, if possible, even finish the short story today. And we'll have a discussion class either Thursday or at another time. We'll decide together. First, before we begin, a little bit about me. I'm John Eric, your Verbling teacher for this hour. I'm an American teacher from New York, hanging out in Lisbon, Portugal to bring you this class. By the way, here are 3 quick rules to help you participate. Don't forget to turn off, tune in, and open up. When you're not speaking, turn off your microphone so we can keep the classroom nice and quiet. When you are speaking, tune in to the new words, the new phrases, the expressions that you learn. That means use them actively so that I can correct you and give you feedback. Finally, open up to your classmates. Relax and have fun. We're all here to learn, and this is a safe and respectful place to practice your English. And that is a little bit about me. Let's say hello to our regulars. Well, we have Piotr. You're a regular now.
Yes,
hello,
I'm regular
Piotr.
now. Hello. How are you?
I'm very good. Hopefully we'll have Johnny and Daniel, and there was someone else too last week. I forget who. Hopefully they'll be joining us. And Salwa, you're almost a regular. Almost. You're getting to be regular. How are you, Salwa?
Fine, and you?
Very good. Nice to see you. Let's say hello to a few new faces. We've got Adam, who I don't think I've seen before. Hello, Adam. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing well, thank you. And you?
Very good. And where are you from, Adam?
I'm from Poland.
From Poland. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice to have you.
Thanks.
And is it Basho or Bacho? How do I say your name?
Bacho.
Say again?
Bacho, yes.
Bacho. And
Yeah.
where are you from, Bacho?
I'm from Georgia.
From Georgia. Wow.
Mhm.
You're our first Georgian, I think. There was another Georgian a while ago, a long time ago. And anytime we have a Georgian in the class, we need to see you write something, because Georgian is the most beautifully written language. Can you write something for us in Georgian?
Yes, I can.
I don't know what the words mean, but they look great. The problem is I don't think... look at that. Can everyone see that? Wow, that's amazing. It's just the greatest looking written language. Arabic is also very nice, but I like this, Georgian. What does that say, Bacho?
It's country's name, Georgia, in Georgian.
That's Georgia in Georgian.
Sounds like Sakartvelo.
Say again?
It's very hard to pronounce some words in Georgian.
Yes. How do you pronounce that?
Sakartvelo.
Sakartvelo?
Yes.
I hope I got it right. Thank you for sharing. Well, and welcome back, Johnny. I knew you were going to be here, Johnny. I was worried, but here you are. So nice to see you again, Johnny.
Nice to see you too.
And let's say hello to Saud. Hello, Saud. How are you? Hello, Saud. How are you?
Fine. How are you?
Very good. Where are you from, Saud?
Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia. Fantastic. Nice to have you. And the esteemed Mr. Vincenzo.
Hello,
from Rome.
teacher. Good morning.
Hi,
How are you?
Vincenzo. So listen, everyone. If you haven't been in the class in the last 2 classes, then what I'm going to ask you to do is just pay attention for a moment while the people who have been here give you a little update. So take a look on your screen. This is the link that I gave you, and let me put it in the other chat window in case you can't see it. If you don't have this, there you go. So we're reading the short story Manhole 69 by the great science fiction writer J.G. Ballard. Along the way, when we find difficult words, I will give you a link to the definitions, and I'll help you understand them. And I'll be asking you some questions as we read. We're all going to get a chance to read, help you with pronunciation, but I'll also help you to understand some important points by asking you key questions. Okay? Shenzo.
Yes.
You look just like J.G. Ballard. That looks like you. Look at that.
Yes.
Oh my God. I can't believe it. Very good. So listen. Do you know the author, J.G. Ballard? Do you know a bit about his work?
No.
Here's what you have to know. You may have seen two films that were turned into books that were turned into movies. The first was a Steven Spielberg movie from the 1980s called Empire of the Sun. It was about a boy in a Japanese prison camp, a British boy growing up during the war in a prison camp. And it was a memoir written by J.G. Ballard. Another film, you can see that car behind him, because his novel Crash was directed as a film by David Cronenberg. So, if you haven't seen these films, it might be a good idea to take a look or go to YouTube and see some clips at least, because it gives you a sense. The second film, Crash, gives you a good idea about what his writing was all about, actually. So, very strange, dark, psychological writing. Spooky. Let's see if we can get a little update for people who weren't here. By the way, I forgot to say hello to Raphael. I saw you come in, but I didn't say hello. Hello, Raphael. How are you?
Hello, teacher. Hello, everybody.
All right. So, let's see. Johnny and Piotr, you've been here for the last couple of classes. We're kind of in the middle of the story right now. Johnny, do you think you could give us an overview of what people have missed so far? What's going on in this story? Tell us a little bit about the characters and a bit about the situation.
Is it about operation, the story, or is it another one?
No, that's it. It's long. We're still on the same story.
Oh, okay. So as I remember last time that we mentioned it, the doctor, he just want to do a test to two patients, and then ask them to stay in a room, and the patient, they seems like someone is watching them.
That's true.
Is it?
What kind of experiment did the doctor perform? You're absolutely right. What kind of experiment? Piotr, what can you add? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, the experience is about the doctors want to experiment. The doctor want to just like to what's the outcome? Then the two patients, I don't know how to say it, just got the eyes watching on them, so to see their reaction.
Oh, you missed something important. Really important. You're absolutely right. They're being watched. In the last class, something really odd happened because all the doctors in the hospital suddenly disappeared. So you're absolutely right about that. Piotr, what's the key idea that he's missing, though? What was the experiment that the doctor performed?
Doctor cut off special nerve in their brain, responsible for falling asleep. Now they can sleep, and they are under observation. Yeah, this is the main plot.
That's it. So, just to recap, as Piotr said, after the operation, they were no longer able to sleep. And this was not done by accident. This was on purpose. It was an experiment to see what people, if we could move humanity forward. This was meant to be a great experiment to change people, to evolve. We could add 20 years to our lives. Vincenzo, what would you do with an extra 20 years to your life if you never slept? What would you do if you never slept? Would that be a good thing? Oh, I can't hear you, Vincenzo.
I don't think it's a good thing, teacher.
Really? Why not?
Because, yes, because when I can't sleep, I don't feel well, teacher. Yes.
But listen, in the story, when the doctor performs this experimental surgery, they are no longer tired. They do have to have some medical treatment because there are some things that sleep does for us, like gets rid of toxins and stuff. But they no longer feel tired, and what else? And so far, there's no bad effects. Remember, this is science fiction, right? I'm not saying this can really happen.
There are no bad effects.
Not so far. Not so far. We're about halfway through this story.
That's a good way in order to you can work all the time. No, it's possible to work, to make many things.
That's right.
No, yes, it's a good way to to perform. Much more than you get.
There you go.
Your life. You can live 200 years in this way.
Well, they estimate that everyone would have an extra 20 years. That's what they estimate, that we're sleeping for 20 years of our lives. Well, that gives you a bit of a background. Are there any questions about the background before we start reading? Does everyone have a rough idea what's going on? If there's any questions, just ask, okay? So what we're going to do is go around the room, take paragraphs, and I'll help you understand things as we go along. Okay? So far, I think we stopped in part 4, and I'm going to jump right to page, I'll tell you the page in a second here. Oh no, part 5.
Are we going to read or are we going to listen?
We're going to read together.
That gives
you a bit of a background. Okay. Are there any questions? And Bacho, I'm hearing a lot of noise in the background. Just make sure that you have the other windows closed. Okay, because that's why I'm hearing my voice, because I think you have 2 windows open at the same time. Close everything but the Hangout, and if you need the link, you've got the link to the document in the chat window inside. All right? So, Johnny, why don't you start us off in part 5? The last thing we saw was that the men were being observed in the hospital, and the doctors disappeared, and the men are looking for the doctors. It seems to be some kind of test. We're not really sure what's going on. So why don't you pick it up in part 5, right here.
Okay. He moved, looked up, and followed the wall opposite him down the far corner. Alert for the telltale. How can I say this?
That's right. Telltale signs, the obvious signs. Telltale.
Telltale signs of a retractable panel. For some while, he had been trying to discover Neil's spy hole, but without any success. The walls were blank and featureless. He had twice covered every square foot of the 2 facing him, and apart from the 3 doors, there appeared to be no fault or aperture
of.
a pendulum.
I lost your place. No, aperture. Sorry, aperture. Aperture means a hole or an opening, like the aperture of a camera to take a picture.
Aperture.
I'm going to put a link there for you too, from vocabulary.com. Okay, and also for Telltale, I'll put a link there for you. You can also add links yourself by using the Research tab, which will link to dictionaries. But I'll put one. Whoops, didn't work. Hold on. I'll put one right now for... What? What's going on? I can't find Telltale? Really? That's bizarre. There we go. Telltale Games. Sorry, give me just a second. Not cooperating. There we go. Down here. Put a link there. Telltale means obvious. And aperture means an opening.
Opening. Aperture. Okay. No fold or aperture of even the most minute size anywhere.
Minute.
By
minute size.
Minute. Oh, minute size. The most minute size anywhere on their surface. After a while, his left eye began to throb painfully, and he pushed away the chessboard and lay back. Above him, a line of fluorescent tubes hung down from the ceiling, mounted in checkered plastic brackets that diffused the light. He was about to comment on his search for the spy hole to Avery and Lang when he realized that any one of them could conceal a microphone.
Okay, so what's a spy hole? What's he looking for here? What does spy hole mean? What do you think, Johnny?
Is it a hole in the door?
Exactly.
Like...
A hole in the door. Like when you go to a hotel or something and you can open the little spy hole and see who's in the corridor. Right?
Okay. Right.
And so, why is he looking for a spy hole? This is the patient, the one with the surgery, one of the patients. Why are they looking for the spy hole?
Maybe he doesn't want the others to see him.
He doesn't want the others to see him. Wait, the others are with him. Avery and Lang, they're all together. All the patients are together. But they think they're being watched. So they're looking around to find the hole. Where is it? Where the doctors have disappeared, and they're being watched. And specifically, it's the Dr. Neil, the guy who created this experiment from the beginning, the guy who did the surgery, to the brain surgery on them.
Okay.
And then he realizes that a spy hole might not be necessary. How could Neil be watching them or listening to them? What could he have done, Johnny? If there's no spy hole, what could he have put in the room? Take a look at the bottom, the last thing you read.
Conceal a microphone. Is it?
Yeah, he could be listening to them. The doctor, this is Neil. Neil, how do you spell Neil? It's 2 L's. Neil could be listening to them through a microphone. So there's no point in even looking for this spy hole. So they're in a very strange situation. Again, if there's any questions, remember, a lot of the vocabulary here is not that easy. But your job is just to understand the general idea. You can ask me about specific vocabulary words too. And I'm going to keep asking you questions to make sure you've got the general idea as we go along. Okay? So, very good job, Johnny. Piotr, can you take the next section?
Yes, of course. Okay. He decided to stretch his legs, stood up, and sauntered off across the floor. After sitting over the chessboard for half an hour, he felt cramped and restless, and would have enjoyed tossing a ball up and down, or flexing his muscles around machine.
Muscles
On a rowing machine. But annoyingly, no reactional facilities apart from the free armchairs and the gramophone had been provided. He reached the end wall and wandered around, listening for any sound from the adjacent. Is it good?
That's correct. Adjacent means the rooms that are connecting to that room. Adjacent
Okay.
rooms. The connecting rooms.
Adjacent rooms. He was beginning to resent Nail spying on him, and the entire K-Hole conspiracy, and he noted with relief that it was 3:15. In under 3 hours it would all be over. The gymnasium closed
Correct.
in, now less than half its original size. Its walls bare and windowless.
Its walls bare and windowless.
Its walls bare and windowless. It was a vast, shrinking box. The sides slid into each other, merging along an abstract hairline, like planes severing in a multi-dimensional flux. Only the clock and the single door remained. Lang had discovered where the microphone was hidden.
So, just a question. What's happening to the room where they are?
The room.
Happening? Yeah.
Okay. The room again started to be the same size like before. No. The room was closed.
Yeah, it's getting smaller. The room is getting smaller. So all the doctors have disappeared. They're recovering from this surgery. It's been about 3 weeks. They're in a white room. They can't see outside. There's bright lights all day and all night. They don't sleep. And this particular day, the room starts to get smaller. All the doctors have disappeared and the room is getting smaller. Naturally, they think they're being spied on and this is some kind of strange test, but they don't know what's going on. And we, as the readers, don't know either. We don't know what's going on either. So, strange. Lang figured out where the microphone was hidden. So, apparently they were being spied on. Let's find out what happens next. So, Adam, can you take over for this section here?
Sure. He sat forward in his chair, cracking his knuckles until Goro returned, then rose and offered him his seat. Avery was in the other armchair, feet up on the gramophone. "Sit down for a bit," Lang said. "I feel like a stroll." Goro lowered himself into the chair. "I'll ask Neil if we can have a ping-pong table in here. It should help pass the time and give us some exercise." "A good idea," Lang agreed. "If we can get the table through the door."
If we can get the table through the door, if it will fit through the door.
I doubt it if there's enough room in here, even if we moved the chairs right up against the wall. He walked off across the floor.
Surreptitiously. Big word. Surreptitiously. And by the way, that's a big word, so I'll tell you. It's just kind of like secretly. Surreptitiously. Secretly.
Surreptitiously. He walked off across the floor, surreptitiously, peering through the orderly room window.
And an orderly is like a nurse. It's not really a nurse. People who work in the hospital are called orderlies. So the room where the orderlies are, is looking through the window.
I don't get it.
The orderlies are the hospital workers, because they're in a hospital.
Ah, okay.
And the orderlies, that's the room where the orderlies normally are. So he's looking through the window of the room where the orderlies normally are, but today they're not there.
Okay. The light was on, but there was still no one inside. He ambled over the gramophone and paced up and down.
Paced up and down. Paced
up and down.
To walk nervously is to pace.
paced up and down near it for a few moments. Suddenly, he swung round and caught his foot under the flex leading to the wall socket.
Keep going.
Ah, okay.
I'm just adding some definitions as we go along.
Okay.
To pace is to walk nervously. So, why is he pacing around? Let's find out what happens first.
The plug fell out onto the floor. Lang left it where it lay, went over and sat down on the arm of Gorel's chair. I've just disconnected the microphone, he confided.
Confided. Confided is to, like, when you tell a secret, you confide in someone.
Confidential, yeah?
Confidential, exactly. That's right. I'll put that there. So, why did he confide that he disconnected the microphone? What's the secret, Adam?
Because
who's listening?
And this doctor.
It seems like it, yeah. So, and the doctor, and they're kind of pretending that they don't notice.
They don't know that they are.
Whoops! What happened? Got to turn on your microphone, Adam.
Okay. I said that they pretended that they don't know they are watched.
Right. They're being watched. Okay. All right. So Adam, just turn off your microphone when you're not speaking, because we're getting a lot of noise in the background. Okay. Sometimes. Okay, that's good. All right. So far so good. Let's keep going. Next in the list is Rafael, and then Salwa, and then Saud, and then Vincenzo. We're going to just keep going around the room. Remember, if there's any questions, ask at any time. Go for it, Rafael.
First of all, could you enlarge the paper, please? Because it's difficult to...
I will try.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Thank you very much.
I'll try my best.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Gorel looked around carefully. Where was it? Lang pointed. Inside the gramophone. He laughed softly. I thought I'd pull Nail's leg. He'll be wild. He'll be wild when he realizes he can hear us. Why do you think it was in the gramophone? Gorel asked. What better place? Besides, it couldn't be anywhere else, apart from in there. He gestured at the light bulb suspended from the center of the ceiling. It's empty, except for the two bulbs. The gramophone is the obvious place. I had a feeling it was there, but it wasn't sure.
But I wasn't sure
until I noticed he had a gramophone, but no records.
What's a gramophone? What is that?
A gramophone is a device to play records, but
yeah. Now we say record player. Now we say record player.
Record player.
In the old days, really old days, a gramophone, but it's a record player for vinyl discs, vinyl records.
Yeah. Gorel nodded sagely. Lang moved away, chuckling to himself. Sorry. Above the door of room 69, the clock ticked on at 3:15. The motion was accelerating. What had once been the gymnasium was now A small room, 7 feet wide, a tight, almost perfect cube.
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 That's it.
Cube. The walls plunged inwards.
Plunged.
Plunged.
Plunged is to fall. To plunge inward, to fall inward.
The walls plunge inwards along colliding diagonals, only a few feet from their final focus.
Okay, great. Let's get another reader too. Salwa, can you continue from there?
Okay. Avery noticed a coral and long basin around his chair. Either of you want to sit down yet? He asked. They shook their heads. Avery rested for a few minutes and then climbed out of the chair and stretched himself. Quarter past there, 3, he remarked, pressing his hands against the ceiling. This is getting to be a long night.
What do you think he means by this is getting to be a long night? Sorry to interrupt. What do you think that expression means? This is getting to be a long night. Why do you think he says that, Salwa?
He feels boring.
He feels bored, right? Bored.
Bored. Okay.
And what do you think is boring the 3 patients? Are 3 people who had this experimental surgery. 3 in the morning, they can't sleep. What do you think they're bored about?
First, about the time they didn't find a lot of things to do. They just moving around the room or something.
Something like that. Let me add one idea. They're bored because it's 3 in the morning. They don't have a lot to do. And the doctor is performing this weird experiment. The room is getting smaller. They've got nothing to do. The room is getting smaller, and they realize, or they believe, they're being spied on. So they're starting to maybe lose their patience a little bit. So I think that's why he's saying this is getting... You're right. They're bored. They're getting bored and they're getting tired of the experiment because no one told them about this. Okay, keep going.
He learned back to let the coral pass him and then started to follow the other around the narrow space between the armchair and the wall. I don't know how Neil expected us to stay awake in this hole for 24 hours a day, he went on. Why haven't we got a television set in here? Even a radio would be something. They slided round the chair together, rolled, followed by Avery with Len, completing the circle, their shoulders beginning to hunch their heads down as they watched the floor, their foot falling into the slow, leaden rhythm of the clock.
Rhythm of the clock. Rhythm.
Rhythm of the clock.
So they're gathered around in a circle now. I have a feeling they're going to have a little talk about this experiment. So, why don't you continue from there? You see where we are?
Yes, sir.
Go for it.
This, then, was the manhole, a narrow, vertical, cubicle, a few feet wide, 6 deep, above, and solitary, dusty pulp gleamed down from a steel grill, as if crumbling under the impetus of their own momentum. The surface of the walls had coarsened.
It's like this. Yeah, coarsened, I would say.
Coarsened.
Coarsened means to get rough. Instead of smooth, it's coarse. The opposite of smooth. Okay. The walls have become coarse.
The texture was that of stone streaked and pitted. Coral bent down to loosen one of his shoelaces, and Avery bumped into him sharply, knocking his shoulder against the wall. "All right?" he asked, taking Crowling's arm. "This place is a little overcrowded. I can't understand why
Neil.
Neil ever put us in here." He leaned against the wall, head bowed to prevented from touching the ceiling, and gazed about thoughtfully.
Good. Thoughtfully.
Lang stood squeezed into the corner next to him, shifting his weight from one foot to other. Corley,
Gorel.
Coral squatted down on his heels below them. "What is the time?" he asked. "I say about 3:15. Lang offered, "More or less." "Long?" Avery asked. "Where is the ventilator here?"
What's a ventilator, Saud? What is that?
"I think this is for air system."
Exactly. So, they were in a big gymnasium. What's the room like now? How do you think it feels to be there, Saud?
Can you say again, please?
How do you think it feels to be in that room now? It was a big room. It's not
No.
big anymore. How do you think it feels for them? Are they comfortable, Saud?
No.
No, they're not comfortable. And we know that because look at the way they're described. Lang shifting his weight from foot to foot. He can't get comfortable. He's moving his weight around because he can't get comfortable. The other guy is squatted down. He's going to hit the ceiling if he stands up straight.
Yeah.
So now we know what the title of the story refers to. Manhole 69. A manhole is on the street where they do repairs, like to the sewer. You open the manhole and you go down into the sewer. So they are in this tiny space, like they're inside of a manhole, looking up. It's a hospital, but it has this experimental room, and the doctor is testing them after the surgery. I have no idea what's going to happen next. Let's find out. Enzo, why don't you take it from there? See where we are?
Yes. Lang peered up and down the walls and across the small square of ceiling. There must be one somewhere. Gorer stood up and they shuffled about, examining the floor between their feet. There may be a vent in the light grills, Gorer suggested. He reached up and slipped his fingers through the cage, running them behind the bulb. Nothing there. Oh, I should have thought we used the air in within half an hour.
What's he worried about here, Vincenzo?
I can see very well. Can you make another?
I don't know if I can make it any bigger. I can try.
Is it possible to? It's possible to eliminate the shadow. Okay, thanks.
What's he worried about here? What are they worried about? I should say.
They are interested in the ventilator. About the ventilator.
Because
they
what are they scared of?
Scared that for the lack of
lack
of
the air.
There.
They're in this
Yes.
tiny space now, and they
Yeah.
think they're going to run out of air. They're looking
It
around.
could be that they couldn't have sufficient oxygen. Okay. In there. Okay, and behind the boat. Nothing there. I should have thought we'd use the air in here within half an hour. Easily. Avery said, "You know there is something." Just then Lang broke in. He gripped Avery's elbow.
Broke in means
Yeah.
to interrupt, to break in, to interrupt the conversation.
I interrupt. Avery, he asked, "Tell me how did we get here? Tell me how did we get here?" "What do you mean get here?" Where we're on Nail's team. Lang out him off.
Lang cut him off.
Lang out him off. I know.
Cut.
Lang cut him off. I know that. He pointed. In here. Girl shook his head. Lang, relax. Lang, relax. How do you think? Through the door. Lang looked squarely at Gordon, then at Avery. "What door?" he asked calmly.
So they're missing a door. All the parts of the room are disappearing, and are they taking it? Are they all calm, Vincenzo? Is everyone calm? Does everyone feel calm, and is everyone okay with the situation, with this experiment?
No.
No, not everyone.
Very strange that it's lacking something like a mad situation.
Before Big Brother in reality television, this is something like that, I guess.
Yes.
So Lang is calm, but one of them, I think it's Avery, Avery is panicking. He's starting to get really scared. All right.
Look.
Squarely at him, looks right at him. What door? He realizes that something has changed. Let me take this little section here, and then I'll go around the room again. Gorell and Avery hesitated, then swung around to look at each wall in turn, scanning it from floor to ceiling. Avery ran his hands over the heavy masonry. Masonry is the stone. Suddenly the walls have the stone finish, and even the material changed. It wasn't stone before. So now, imagine going from a gymnasium to this stone, cold, confined space. Ran his hands over the masonry, then knelt down and felt the floor, digging his fingers at the rough stone slabs. Gorell crouched beside him, scrabbling at the thin seams of dirt. So now they're kind of on the floor trying to feel around for a way out, I guess. Lang backed out of their way into a corner and watched them impassively. His face was calm and motionless, but in his left temple is the side of your head. Between your eye and your ear, you have a temple. In his left temple, a single vein fluttered insanely. So he's watching them calmly, but something's going on because the side of his head is like twitching, like a muscle that has a spasm. When they finally stood up, staring at each other unsteadily, he flung himself between them at the opposite wall. "Kneel! Kneel!" he shouted, pounding angrily on the wall with his fists. "Kneel! Kneel!" Above him, the light began to fade. Oh my God. So now they're going to be in the dark as well. We're back to the beginning of the room, and so Johnny, take it away.
Yes. Morty closed the door of the surgery office behind him and went over to the desk. Though it was 3:15 a.m. Neil was probably awake, working on the latest material in the office next to his bedroom.
Okay, so now we're in a different location. Who is Morley? For people who were not here, who is Morley?
Another doctor.
He's like an assistant to Neil, right? He's not a patient. He's on the staff. So now we've cut to another location. We're not in the manhole anymore. We're back upstairs with Neil the doctor and Morley the assistant. Morley may be a doctor too, but anyway, they work together. Just to be clear. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Fortunately, that afternoon's tax card, freshly marked by one of the interns, had only just reached his in-tray. What's in-tray?
In-tray is on your desk. It's the old way of saying inbox. Before we had email, we used to have an in-tray, which was a flat plane, like a tray that you serve drinks off of. It was a flat tray. You put letters, because in 1950 there was no email. This was written in 1957. No email back then.
Okay.
So it's like your inbox.
Yeah. Molly picked out Lan's folder and started to sort through the cards. He suspended that Lan's response to some of the keywords and suggestions triggered lying disguise in the questions forms. Mine threw illuminating sidelight on the real motive behind his equation of sleep and death. The communicating door to the orderly room.
Communicating means, we learned it before, adjacent. So adjacent and communicating are the same thing. The connecting door.
Connecting door. The communicating door to the orderly room opened, and an intern looked in. Do you want me to take over in the gym, doctor? Molly waved him away. Don't bother. I'm going back in a moment. He selected the card he wanted and began to initiate his withdrawal. Glad to get away from the glare of the arc light. He delayed his return as long as he could, and it was 3:25 a.m. when he finally left the office and stepped back into the gymnasium.
So Morley is going back to the gymnasium. That's where the patients are, Lang, Avery, and Gorell. What do you think he's going to find when he gets there, Johnny? What's he going to find when he goes back to the gymnasium? What do you think? You don't know. We haven't read it, but what's your opinion? What's he going to find? What did the gymnasium look like the last time we left it? In the last scene, what did it look like?
A big space room,
which became a small space.
Which became small, and it's dark.
And it's dark, and it's so small. It's like being in the manhole in the streets. So if he's returning to the gymnasium and it's 3:25, and the last time we saw the patients it was about 3:15, they should be stuck in this tiny little space. That's what we expect to happen because of this weird experiment in the gymnasium. Let's see if that's what really happens. Let's find out. So, Piotr, you take it away.
Okay, the men were sitting where he had left them. Lang watched...
Huh? The men were sitting where they had left him? Wait a second. That's not what happened when we left, right?
Yes.
Something strange going on. So let's find out. Keep going.
Lang watched him approach. Head propped comfortably on a cushion.
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 Cushion is the soft thing on your sofa. You put your behind on a cushion, a soft pillow.
Avery was slouched down in his armchair, nose in a magazine, while Gorell hunched over the chessboard, hidden behind the sofa. Anybody feel like coffee? Morley called out, deciding they need some exercise. None of them looked up or answered. Morley felt a flicker of annoyance, particularly at Lang, who was staring past him at the clock. Then he saw something that made him stop. Lying on the polished floor, 10 feet from the sofa, was a chess piece. He went over and picked it up. The piece was the Black King. He wondered how Gorel could be playing chess with one of the two essential pieces of the game, missing when he noticed.
Wait. One of the two essential pieces missing? How
Yes.
can he play chess with a missing king?
It's not possible.
Right.
Something was really wrong there.
Right. He comes back into the gym, and it's not a small room, but something's wrong with the three patients.
Yeah, maybe we will find out soon.
I hope so. We're running out of time. Keep going.
Pieces of the game, missing when he noticed 3 more pieces lying on the floor nearby. His eyes moved to where Gorel was sitting. Scattered over the floor below the chair and sofa was the rest of the set. Gorel was slumped over the stool. One of his elbows had slipped, and the arm dangled between his knees, knuckles resting on the floor. The other hand supported his face. Dead eyes stared down at his feet.
Wow. So, what happened to the patients while Morley was away? In other words, Piotr. What state are they in now?
They are unconscious a little bit, I think so.
Yeah, they're unconscious. What could have happened to them? Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
I think that all the situation which we were reading before, when they were in small room,
right?
Everything just happened in their heads.
Really?
Yeah, it's my idea, but I don't know.
But how could the three of them have the same illusion?
Maybe because of this operation they have special connection, but I don't know.
You're cheating because you've read Stanislav Lem.
No, I don't know.
You've read, you come from the country with Stanislav Lem, so you know all about science fiction.
No.
You know how these things work. I agree with you. It seems like it was some kind of a delusion, something like that. We've got time for maybe 1 or 2 readers. We're almost at the end of the story. Raphael, take the next section for us, please, in your beautiful reading voice.
Oh, thanks a lot. Marley ran over to him, shouting, "Lang, Avery, get the orderlies. Orderlies.
Orderlies, the hospital workers, the orderlies.
Orderlies, oh my gosh. He reached Gorel and pulled him back off the stool. Lang, he called again. Lang was still staring at the clock, his body in the stiff, unreal posture of waxworks dummy.
Waxworks like Madame Tussauds Museum in London. Yeah.
Morley let Gorel loll back onto the sofa, leaned over and glanced at Lang's face. He crossed to Avery, stretched it out behind the magazine, and jerked his shoulder. Avery's head bowed stiffly.
Bobbed. Bobbed is like move back and forth. Bob
stiffly. The magazine slipped and fell from his hands, leaving his finger curled in front of his face. Morley stepped over Avery's leg to the gramophone. He switched it on, gripped the volume control, and swung it round to full amplitude. Above, the orderly room door, an alarm bell shrilled out through the silence. Oh my gosh.
The silence. So look, we have a little break in the story that the author gives us, these little 3 dots. That means the end of the story is a separate scene entirely. So what I want you to do is read the ending on your own. And on Thursday, we're going to talk about what your reaction was to the story. We're also going to look at some great language the author uses. So we're going to talk about the story. I want to get your reaction to the ending of the story. I'll put some questions there for you to think about as you read the ending. I'll do that later today. And we'll have our last class for this on Thursday at 9 GMT, 9 London time. Okay? We're almost at the end, but I want you to have the experience of reading the story on your own, because the story takes place in your head, right? So I want you to have that experience without any distractions. On Thursday, we'll get together again, and we'll get your reactions, and we'll talk about what really happened to the people in Manhole 69. Okay? So, don't forget, save the link, and if there's any questions, you can make comments directly on the document. I've enabled the commenting tool, so you can just right-click and write a question, and I'll try to answer it before the class. Or you can leave it there, and I'll answer it during the class. Okay? So, we're going to actually stop in just a moment here. Before we go, what is your reaction to the story so far? What do you think about the story? I know some of you missed the beginning, but what's your reaction so far? Do you like the story? Is it interesting? Silence.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I wanted to start reading it from the start.
Start from the beginning. It's
From
very.
the beginning, yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's very clinical. You ever see 2001? All those scenes at the beginning, everything is very matter of fact. Life goes on kind of normally. It starts that way too.
Yes, something can be not be at the same time. Yes.
Something what? Say again?
Something can appear in a certain mode, but it's the contrary. So something very strange.
Exactly. Everything
and
seems very normal.
Interesting for the using of verbs. Yes, there are very particular verbs that we are not accustomed to use.
That's true. He writes in a way that is not really the way we speak. I think you can get the general picture, but he definitely uses language that is not really spoken language. I've tried to put some links there.
Yes.
Okay.
You have to do a lot of translation, teacher.
Maybe.
In order to understand well these verbs.
Absolutely. He says a lot of things in a very complicated way, but as a native speaker, it's very clear what he's saying. For you, it's definitely advanced, for sure. So one thing you can do is make a note directly in the document if you like. Right-click the word that's difficult, write a question, and we'll make sure that we answer it in the next class. Okay? There's a lot of very good vocabulary, absolutely. None of the vocabulary in the story, none of it, you need to know, you need to use on your own. You don't need this kind of language to communicate. But it's great that you understand what it means to follow the story. So you don't need to use it actively, but you should understand it, you should recognize it passively. So I agree with you, Vincenzo. It's good exposure. One last question. Well, actually, no, I've got to start the next class or I'm going to be late. So we got to stop here. Thursday, 9 GMT, 9 London time, and we'll talk about the story. I'm going to be back in 1 minute to do the next part of the business class, how to deal with business culture. We're going to continue on using our key phrases, but we're going to apply them to a very practical situation. Don't forget, we've been talking about how to narrate a past event, a cultural event, how to talk about what happened. So we're going to continue that in just a minute. Hope to see you there. Bye for now, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.